If you're worried about getting jobs to be the cheapest, then start saving more money and get an education in business, because way too many technicians enter business ownership and they're not good at it. So what I would say is save more money before you start your business.
Tommy, glad to have you on the show today.
Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited because for those that don't know you, you've built a pretty sizable business in the garage door space. But I think you've got a lot to offer, and I know you've been getting out there and educating kind of the trades and the service industry. And so I want to kind of start way back at the beginning, though. Why garage doors? Why did you get into the business?
You know, I get this question a lot, and it just, at the time I started painting garage doors, my buddy was running a garage door company, and he said, "Do you know how to paint garage doors?" I said, "No, but I could learn." And he paid really good money, and I could make anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a week just painting them on the weekend. I was bartending, I was going to school, and another buddy of mine worked for him as a service tech. So I learned all about the industry, and we went and started our own business. And we made every single mistake you could make. From booking calls to the correct dispatching. Back then, there was really no such thing as a really good CRM for the home service business. We had an appointment book, and we had this really, really fat TV-looking GPS, which just came out when we started, and which was nice. But yeah, the garage door business has been a lot of mistakes. The one thing you can say about me is I make a lot of mistakes, and I make them quick, but I try not to make the same mistakes over and over again, like most companies. I see a lot of people, they tell me all about their business, and they say, my workers, they just don't do what I tell them. I can't get my CSRs to book the phone call. It goes on. And I always say, well, it's always the leader, and it really is. And I've had to mold myself into a whole new person over these last few years to become a better leader and give a better culture. So,
yeah, that's cool. So it sounds like you kind of just fell into it in a way, and then just took it and ran with it. I'm curious, how long did it take you guys to hit $1 million in sales? Do you remember?
I want to say 2010. So a few years into the business, because I wasn't giving it my all until me and my partner separated. And partnerships are very, very, very tough, because there's always someone thinking the other person's not doing as much work, whether it's the father and son, husband and wife, whatever that looks like. And it's tough. So when I really got to be on my own, I formed a new LLC. I switched from A1 Garage Door Specialist to A1 Garage Door Service. And that's when he started to take off. And $1 million is really, really easy. Think about this. If the average technician, and this is back then, did about 300,000, I only needed 3.5, 4 technicians to do $1 million. So I've got guys doing well over $1 million now, just one guy. So
yeah. And the reason I ask is I'm kind of curious how long it took you once you got to 1 to get to 5. Was it a similar time frame?
Yeah, I think I needed a few more systems in place. I needed a little bit of training, but it still wasn't good. It wasn't even good when I was 30 technicians. Now it's getting really, really sophisticated. We've got about 130 techs, and we've got a whole training school now. But yeah, there's a hard part of getting completely out of the field. And the other hard part is building systems to inspect what you expect. So before, when I was dispersing all the inventory and doing payroll and booking all the calls myself, it was really easy to not have a lot of issues. And as each issue arises, you give up control. A lot of us go, if I don't do it right, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done right. And it's usually the owner or the management not setting up the employees for success. There's no really, really amazing manuals. There's no instructions how they could win the game. There's no standard operating procedures and no KPIs, at least 5 amazing key performance indicators to tell if they're doing their job right or not. And a lot of people don't delegate. They dump on people, and then they wonder why they can't get anything done. So it's a longer upfront, but in the long run, you build a scalable business that doesn't require you to be there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what would you say are maybe the top 2 or 3 kind of big shifts that kind of when you took a leap forward in the business, whether it was sales or removing yourself from some elements. But I think a lot of people do kind of get stuck at certain phases, whether it's 1 million or 3 or 10, but you hit these new hurdles. So are there any that stick out over your journey?
Yeah, I've got several of those. I think really some of the big ones was when my mom and my stepdad moved out in 2010. They were somebody I could trust, and finding someone you could trust and count on is hard to do until you become a bigger, better business, because you're able to identify drug test, background checks, personality profiling, dig into a lot deeper, better, much better interviews, much better training. So they were crucial. 2014, I got my I'm a visionary. Adam's my man, I'm brain farting. It's been a long day already.
He's your integrator, probably.
Integrator, yeah. So he integrates everything and really helps my operations out, and I've gotten better at it. But ultimately, he's the yin to my yang in a way of business that I never had before. He hates marketing. I love marketing. He's not as involved in sales, even though he's good at it. I love sales. And then we've got another guy. When I got the right CFO, is when everything. That's when I started making. That's when I started making almost $1 million profit a month. Is when he came on and really taught us how to set up KPIs around each department. And he came from, when he started in North Dakota, he was at a $25 million company. He left them when they were 425. So he's been where I want to go. And it's important to get those people. And I'd say getting an amazing CRM, Service Titan, was just super, super impactful. It was just a game changer. And I'll tell you this, starting my podcast and having amazing guests and reading the books that they wrote and actually learning and hearing them and asking them any question I want was remarkable. And now we're doing 20,000 downloads a month. So it's pretty fun stuff. Those were 4 of them that I can think of just off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And I mean, the key people one is a big one that stands out to me. I mean, systems, a lot of people do talk about systems and those things help, but getting the right people in those couple of seats can make a big difference, it sounds like.
Well, the one thing I'd say about that is now the systems dictate the people, but you still need those top 5. But realistically, people are like, oh, I just need the right people. I need the right people. Well, you should have an org chart and a depth chart, and you should have good handbooks and manuals and descriptions of what each job looks like. And you should really understand the avatar that you're hiring for that profile or for that position. So I think the biggest mistake is we don't spend enough time reflecting on what we need. We don't look at the bottlenecks. We don't take a sheet of paper and look at the back, and we should put down every 15 minutes, what's stealing our time? Where are all my bottlenecks coming from? And actually, it's hard for me to reflect. I'm such a forward thinker. I'm such a visionary. I'm so far in 10 years from now. But as I started to look back and say, man, this is a big problem, this is a big problem, and prioritize them and really see them to the finish line and get them done, I started to do a lot better. And then all of us have this thing called shiny bulb deficit or whatever, where there's so many opportunities. You're like, hey, maybe if I flipped houses at the same time as I did this and then this and then this. And what we realize is we get nothing done. So focus and essentialism, and the one thing by Gary Keller, focus. And that's going to change your life. I really will. I think a lot of people, most business owners, most entrepreneurs, we all have this thing where we just, the next shiny light, and you just got to get rid of it all and say, this is what I chose. I'm making good money. Let me make great money, and pick a niche. Do not do commercial, residential, Home Depot. Don't do new builders, home warranty companies. And these people, and they wonder why they fail. Every truck's set up differently. They've got every different model truck. They've got different tools on each truck for different things, and they wonder why they can't be successful. They can't do one thing really, really great and watch how much money you can make.
That's awesome advice. Yeah. What's one thing you wish you did sooner?
One thing I wish I did sooner. Well, definitely hire a personal assistant, or you could call it an executive assistant. Man, when I got the right person in the role, she literally is my organization. She is my time management. She makes me 10 times more effective. She makes me a more effective leader. She makes me more punctual. So I think by having somebody to fill in the voids of what you're not good at. A lot of people say I want to be well-rounded, and I'm like, no, why? Why do you got to learn how to do? What are you supposed to do? Learn how to do the warehouse? I've done every job in the company, but ultimately I know which ones I can't stand and I know which ones I'm not good at. So why not hire someone that enjoys that? When you learn about personality profiles and the predictive index or the DISC assessment, you'll learn that people really do a much better job in certain departments, and identify that, and don't try to change the way you are. Embrace the way you are. So when I was able to fill that void, I think that was something that if I'd done that sooner, I would have been able to make myself 10 times more productive.
Yeah, that's a good one. How long did it take you to finally pull the trigger on that hire?
Well, I had a gal that was really good too before the last couple. It was probably 2017, so that would have been 2007, about 10 years through the business. I just, in my mind, I couldn't understand spending the money. I'm like, I could do the emails, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. But then I realized, here's a good practice: is take how much money you make a year. Let's just say the average home service company is making 150 grand, and divide that into the hours. Take 50 weeks, divide it. Just say you work 40 hours. Don't make it difficult. Don't say you work 60. Just 40 times that, so you got 2,000 hours, and divide that into what you made, and I think that's $75 an hour. And when you start to really understand where your time's going, what it does is really allow you to focus on the places that you need to be. I did the same math of last month, and this is not I could care less. I have the most amazing team, but it's in the thousands. And I'm like, man, I really, really got to be smart with my time. I really, really, really need to make sure that I'm spending my time in the right areas. And I think that kind of goes out the window with small businesses. They go, they're firefighters, and I'm a fire preventer. I prevent every fire. I find the bottlenecks. I live on Mars, and I look at Earth, and I don't get involved in the day-to-day very, very often. And I'm like, here's a problem. Here's the problem. Here's a problem. And they know that. My whole staff knows that. And I'm a good leader because I'm here every day fighting the fight that they're in. I'm not managing this from Europe and always on a jet and doing stuff. And I think owners like that, one day I might be, but right now I feel like I'm building this business, and I think I can get it up to $1 billion of revenue with the help of my amazing, and I'll emphasize that, they're the best team anybody could ever wish for.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. And let's talk about future a little bit, because you said you're very much a visionary. So you just threw out the, chasing the billion. But what's the future look like for you? Where are you going?
Oh, well, I'm doing a group right now that we're helping home service companies. Basically, the home service expert, the same as my podcast on Facebook. And my goal is to build 1,000 millionaires in that. So that's a passion of love for me. So that's fun. And if I think about my fun life, I like to golf. I love to watch movies. I do a lot of fun stuff. People say, how do you sleep? And I'm like, sleep really good. I get plenty of sleep. I delegate well. But as far as my professional life, I know I'm going to have fun at this for the next 5 or 7 years. And then I'm probably either going to do an IPO, which is go public in the stock market, or I'm going to sell to private equity. And I'm going to become a minority shareholder, but I'll get a big bite out of the second bite. And most people don't understand how home service companies sell. They don't understand how it works. It's going to be a lot of money off the table, and everybody at this company is going to do well because of it. And then we're going to get a second bite, and probably a third and fourth bite, because I think there could be a congregation of home service companies sharing that client under one company's roof. And I think we could be the ambassadors of that. And that's a whole big topic of how you sell a company and how private equity works. I just read an amazing book on private equity, and I'm excited because I contacted the guy on LinkedIn. I'm like, dude, I'm a big fan. I just read your whole book on the airplane. And I told him I have a podcast. He's like, all right. He's like, I'd love to be on it. So it's pretty cool. I just love learning about business and going to that next level, because it's not always about home service. There's so many layers of the marketing, and they sell on what's called EBITDA. It's earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and appreciation. And it's a multiple of EBITDA, and it's super fun because if you could get your business with enough service contracts, your home service company, and you can do, let's just say you do $1 million a year of net profit, which is basically EBITDA adds in some stuff to that. So you EBITDA, let's just say you're a 5 times multiplier, you can sell for $5 million. And let's say after taxes, you get $3 million back. Let's say you could get 7% of that money. That's $210,000 a year without taking any of your principal. So that's retirement for 99.9% of Americans. And, for me, I'm going to do a lot more things to impact other people's lives along the way. You got to think, if I'm providing right now over 250 jobs, they're each feeding 3 people. That's 1,000 people. I think we'll get to about 6,000 real employees. So that's about 24,000 families or mouths we're affecting. And it just, to me, that sounds good. It sounds rewarding.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's cool to hear you talk about the impact, because that's really what money is. It's a tool that allows you to impact and kind of amplify who you are. And so if you're trying to help other people, like the more money you make, the more people you can help and kind of pass that down to. So that's super cool to hear. For people, we were talking just before we hit record, you guys are going gangbusters right now, super busy. For people right now that are in a similar position, I know we got off to a interesting start to the year. There was a few months in there where there was a lot of uncertainty. There's probably still uncertainty, but I think people have, they're fairly busy. Things have picked up. They're at work, but what are some things you're looking at, just immediate next steps? Where are the opportunities? What should people be thinking about if they're going, hey, I'm kind of busy right now? What are you thinking about?
So I'm building out a very, very sophisticated learning management system. So I think right now is the time to identify really important projects. So LMS is huge. I need to build a system where I can create 75 technicians a month. Right now I've got about 40 some odd here, and it's amazing because we've got a training center. We're adding 19 more doors to our already existing training center. So we're going to have about 40 doors to train on. I'm looking at buying out companies right now. A lot of people are very, very scared, and they're saying, I've dealt with this stuff again. There's a correction coming, they say every 10 years, and they're like, look, I'm doing pretty good. Let me get out while I'm ahead. So keeping your eyes on acquisitions is huge. And the purpose behind an acquisition is you buy a company that's making 5% profit, and they're small, so they're only getting a 3 times multiple of EBITDA. You get them to 15%, and you'll get a 6 times. So you got 3 times the profit that you paid for them, and then you multiply that, you double it. So you made 6 times what you paid just by going in and fixing them. And people don't understand these numbers because it's ridiculous. So that's a big one for me. And we've got a full-time recruiting and training staff now. So what I've really done is said, where do I want to go? And then you back into that number. So to do $1 billion, you simply write down $1 billion with all the zeros. You take your average technician. I think I took 500,000. And then I said, okay, how many technicians do I need? I need 2,000 technicians. So to get the 2,000 technicians, put that over a 3-year plan, roughly I need about 50 a month. So say 60 because you might lose 10 in the transition of everything. 50 a month gets me to 1,800. That gets me darn near $1 billion. And there's a lot more math and matching the jobs and making sure your marketing team. And then you got to keep the culture. Then you got to think about the big brother, talking about their family, making sure they're getting taken care of, making sure they have a voice. So to get to that number, there's a lot of other things that go into this. But basically, I need to hire 60 technicians a month. I'm saying 75 because I know between 70 and 75 will get me to where I want to be within 3 years. But I still have, who knows what will happen. So I built in a 5-year timeline.
That's cool. I think it's interesting that you started with the number of techs you need and not the number of leads you need. Because I can hear a lot of people listening to this and going, okay, that's great. What if I went out and hired 3 people today instead of 75? And they're going, well, how am I going to keep them busy? So how do you think about that?
Well, that's easy. The leads, I know how much I pay per lead. Okay. So if my technicians have a higher conversion rate, higher average ticket, we're going back to them more often because we're selling a service agreement, I could pay more per lead. So if I hire the right technicians and train them properly, they're getting reviews, they're asking for referrals, then I'm winning. I mean, the first thing I do when I get a new tech is say, find 100 friends and family. So they say, they call their grandma. I say, Grandma, do you have 7 friends with a garage door? I'm going to come out and service your door for free. What I'd like you to do is spread the word. Leave me a Facebook, leave me a Nextdoor, leave me a Google, leave me a Yelp, you go through this process, and the technicians actually, if you decide you're going to spend 10% on marketing and the average ticket's $500, you can pay $50 per acquisition. Then you incentivize them to pull more leads. But the leads are actually an outcome of the amazing technicians. If you got a crappy conversion rate, you're going to customers' houses, you're never closing, who cares about the leads? The leads are really not as important as people think, because you're going to have a marketing fund. So if I raise revenue, therefore I raise the amount I can pay per lead, and whoever pays more per lead will always win. It's just how it works. So I can pay Google more money and own that number one spot because I train my tech so much better, and I hired on personality. See, I get them that they never had any experience. I want the most amazing, big smile, optimistic. They have eye contact, body language, tonality. If they give me those factors, I'm going to turn them into a machine.
That's awesome. Yeah, which makes sense why you're building the learning management system, because you're saying, hey, I don't care. I'm going to train for the skill. I just need the personality. Is that kind of the general approach then?
Yeah, I don't care if you're the most amazing person in the world. If you got a bad attitude, every time I say something, you're rolling your eyes and I don't want to say it on your podcast, but if you're just one of these people that's just really nasty, they don't like constructive criticism, they're not happy, they're groggy, and they're like, I'm better because I sell more. But then you find out they're ripping people off, they're treating your customers like crap, they're drinking on the job. They're just not good people. And I want to be I've got people that they put blood, sweat, and tears out for this company because they care. And that's what I hire for. And I'd rather than do a little bit less in the sales, but take care of my clients and really care about the company and their coworkers than have, and everybody's had this hot shot, and I've had to fire 2 amazing hot shots. And I'm like, man, it's going to be a lot tighter. I mean, at the time, my first one, we're talking 2015, 2014. I mean, this guy was a stud as far as numbers go. And he was pretty good at customer satisfaction, but just really, oh man, another meeting. And I'm like, I just remember, I'm like, dude, you got to go. You are cancer. So I've really put myself in a situation where I have amazing people around me, and they really care. And that's the way you should build your business. It really does come down to the employees, but there's a process to get those employees. And I've got the time. See, I've got full-time trainers now. I'm not saying go right along with this guy and pick up all of his bad habits. We've got testing curriculum. We inspect what we expect. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. How much training time do you put in? If somebody starts, they get hired today, what's that ramp up period look like?
All right. So you do a ride along. You got a ride along form. I want to know how much you smoke. I want to walk you to your car, see if it's a mess. I want to know were you punctual. I want to know if you were asking good questions, how much you were on your phone. Were you on social media? Were you disrespectful if you talked to your mom or your grandma or your girlfriend? Those are the kind of things I'm looking for. Do you have a plan with your life? If you got through my interview process, you probably will pass the ride along. But that's the point where I'm like, be critical with my guys. I do not want, and I'm going to look at you either good or bad based on the decision you make. Now they come aboard. Now we've got a 3-week apprenticeship, 3 to 4 weeks, depending on when my next class starts. And then I get them in here for 4 to 5 weeks. And then I get them back in their hometown for about 3 weeks running friends and family and neighbors. So if you look at the whole thing, it's roughly 3 months. The first one is just doing ride-alongs, making sure they're a good person, making sure they show up on time, they're asked questions. They've already started on the LMS. So that's learning management system that they go online and do some stuff. We learn that their technical aptitude is where it needs to be. They can handle a CRM, which a lot of old timers, they're like, I'm only used to paper, and they can't figure it out. So that's important to us. And then we get them here, and we have a lot of fun with them. We go to like escape rooms and games, and we had a dunk the trainer the other day. We bought one of those softball machines that dunks them. We got a popcorn machine, a hot dog, just always fun stuff. I got a big buck hunter, a golden tee. We've got massage chairs here. So I just picked up 3 Segways to ride around the building with. So we're like, build the culture up, and then I give them the real life experience, and then they're ready. Then they're ready to go out, and now they're ready to face the world and win.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. And for people listening, you kind of breezed through a few of the steps earlier, but once they get back to wherever they're going to start kicking things off, like you said the person will actually start generating the leads. What are those first few tactical things that you can tell somebody that's just starting? You mentioned like, hey, I'll do your garage for free and spread the word. Like, do you have kind of a checklist there where like, hey, if you do these four things, you'll be off to a good start?
It's not a checklist, but number one, if you're in a new market, you got to make sure your website's optimized. Google's everything. You want to make sure to get the Google guarantee. You want to make sure you got a fast loading website and it's got a high conversion rate. That just means it's sexy. It's got a call to action. It looks good. There might be a video. It loads fast. Like I said, load fast. Have your Google My Business page. Make sure you're getting the Google My Business page. Have the hours on there 24/7. Make sure you have on there. So many people forget the descriptions and the add pictures and all these things that really build credibility. Get your citation sites built. So Google's the platform for everything. And then you want to get reviews. And here's the thing is, I'll take a lot more time if I don't have a lot of work with the current customers. I'll make a small video with them. I'll get them to make a testimonial. I'll get them to share it on Facebook. Hey, do you know any other good people in this area that might need my service? Ask them for a referral. Ask them if there's anybody else they might know. I give my guys $1,500. Anybody in the company, guys and gals, that they find another employee that gets hired, $1,500. So take the time with them to find great people. I'm telling you, getting these people, building the funnel of people is the secret. It is the secret. I mean, if I had to tell anybody, that's probably one of the biggest things. And then obviously going to a shop that you want to be like, getting out of your hometown and going there. But so getting reviews, getting videos, sharing them on Facebook before and afters, and then get on every direct response. Get on Groupon if you have to. I was always on Groupon. I was on Living Social because what that meant to me is it's a variable cost. I don't pay for that unless I get the lead. Is that variable? I'm trying to think if that's the right. Would it be a fixed cost that I can predict it, but it's always variable depending on the leads, but I'm only paying if I'm going out to their home. Whereas, because they were buying a deal, whereas Home Advisor is still great, but you're going against other people. But if that's the case, download the app, and the minute you see that thing go off, you call that customer. I think that a lot of people start in this industry, the home service, without enough money. I think they think it's going to be amazing because they work as a technician for a company and they go, well, I know where to buy the parts. I know the CRM we're using, so I could just build my own business. And they don't think about being a technician is 5% of a successful business. It's literally, you got to have a CSR, a dispatcher. You got to have a warehouse. You got to have the advertising, the culture, the trucks. You've got to have the wrap company. You've got to have the accounting, the KPIs, the standard operating procedures, it goes on and on. And people don't give enough thought. They never heard of a depth chart. They don't know how to build an org chart. They don't know how to post an ad. They don't know how to become a recruiter. And then they say, well, I don't understand, and I've given my all. Well, what you don't understand is you were a technician. And all these other things were going on to make you successful. To ring the doorbell, there needs to be 25 other things gone right. Like your truck making it to the property is a big one. I had 5 trucks break down in one day once. That's when I stopped buying used vehicles.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And you see that a lot. People are really good at the craft, or that's why they get into the business and then quickly realize that that's just one piece of it. So
yeah, it's a big mistake.
Yeah. So I've got one last segment of the show, but before we get to that, couple more questions. One,
yeah, no, I got plenty of time.
Is there anything that you just want like everybody in this industry to know? Like you said, you make a lot of mistakes, but you make them quickly and you don't make them twice. If you just reflect back again, like what do you just wish everybody knew so that they could improve their businesses a little bit more?
Well, everybody needs to understand that do not be a price warrior. People want 3 things. They want it done fast. They want it done right. They want it done for cheap. Do not do all 3. Be the best and be the fastest. If you're a price warrior, you're going to stay busy and you're never going to make money. And people are like, they get on the Facebook groups. They're like, this guy rips people off, blah, 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 blah. I've heard it all. And I'm like, dude, you work out of your home. Your wife works for you. Your son works for you. You don't insure any of your employees. You're driving used trucks that break down. You don't have any wraps. You can't afford to warm or cold air conditioning bill. You don't have a new computer. The reason I charge, and I wrote this in the book with Alan Rohr, is triple your prices, quadruple your prices, charge more money. Every time your distribution center gives you a 3 or 4% increase your prices too. And the thing is you're only helping the industry when you raise your prices. You could elevate the whole thing. It's called the Starbucks effect. When Starbucks came out, everybody bought more coffee. Restaurants used to give coffee out for free. Then they started charging $2 for it, or $1 or whatever. Even 50 cents was more than zero. So raise your darn prices and quit thinking about, if you're worried about getting jobs to be the cheapest, then start saving more money and get an education in business, because way too many technicians enter business ownership and they're not good at it. So what I would say is save more money before you start your business. Make sure you don't go in. Make sure you're well funded. You should have 3 months of all your expenses. You should have new computers too. You shouldn't worry. You should have a good CRM. People go, I can't afford ServiceTitan. And I go, ServiceTitan is less than 0.5%. It's less than a half. Do you know how much percentage it gets me? I've got accountability through the yin yang on here. So ultimately, raise your prices and go into the market and be a niche that you could be the best price, the biggest price, because you're so good at what you do that people will line up for your business. Not the guy that says, I'm cheap, but I can't get out there for a month because I'm overwhelmed. Then raise your prices. I'm just obsessed with that. Don't feel bad. Don't think you're ripping anybody off. If they're willing to pay it because of a great service with a drug test, a background check, and a guy that smells and a guy that cares, then it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people that are looking for the cheapest prices, they're always the pains in the ass, right?
Oh, they're the callbacks. They're the, oh man, I'm going to destroy you on Yelp if you don't do this. They're always the worst. It's not your avatar. Pick the people that say this. I've made mistakes. I've got the cheapest. I don't want the cheapest. I want the best warranty. I want somebody that's going to clean up. I want the product to be great. I want the company to be around in 10 years. Those are the things real customers that should be your avatar care about.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. It'll just make everything easier, because when you can charge right, then, the business side of things, you can take care of what you need to. And then the customer's happy too. Like, they're signing up for that. They get a great service, and yeah, it solves a lot of those problems that you get into.
The apples to apples, people say apples to apples, but I don't sell apples. I sell oranges. I have higher cycle parts. They're powder coated, better bearings, lifetime. They're self-lubricating 100,000 cycle Z bearing rollers. A lot of people don't know how to say stuff like that. They go, oh, these are my rollers. But doesn't it make it sound good when there's adjectives? Like, I sell a worry-free package. It comes from a 16x7. It's a tank of a garage door. It comes with 2 decorative hardware kits, 80,000 cycle powder coated, lifetime warranty, patented max life springs, 100,000 cycles, E-bearing rollers. It comes with operator reinforcement bracket, a 3/4 horse LiftMaster opener that you can control from your phone. It closes anytime, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 minutes later. It's got all the bells and whistles, all this for $267 a month, same as cash. It's 40% of your curb appeal. Only thing on your home that gives you 102% ROI, and it's the smile of your home. Tell me you don't want a new garage door now.
Yeah, no, I love it. The full pitch. You've maybe done that a couple of times, right?
I do this every week in front of my guys, and then I have one come up there and do it, and I'm like, dude, we got to work on this because you got to be excited about it. This is what I put in my family's house. This is what my managers buy for their grandparents. This is the package that we believe in, and we believe in the best. And if anybody, I tell my guys all the time, if you could find a way to get something better, if we could call the manufacturer and make that part, that battery, that ion battery last longer, like we could pay them to make it better. How do we differentiate ourselves from the crowd? And I got a lot of books on this of just, it's not, we're open nights and weekends and we do drug tests. No, everybody does that. What's your unique selling proposition? And ours is our parts are way better. Our people are way better. And I can tell you, we've got certain stats that we give the guys that we can tell our clients real factual stuff. Like, out of the last 978 installs, 970 of them went in on time. And those others 8 or whatever that was, the other 8 were rectified within 48 hours. And we went to another manufacturer to get you done properly. Those are real significant data points that the customers go, wow, that's real. That's not, who cares about, the nights and weekends? Everybody's open nights and weekends.
Yeah. Well, and one thing through all of that, the one thing that really stood out to me was you said you sell a worry-free product. And that's what people want, and that's that solution, and all those other things back that up. They give that customer that confidence. So yeah, I love that, because that's the solution that they're really looking for. And everyone that's selling on price, they're just selling another door. It's, yeah, I can put your door in, but that's not even what you're selling.
Well, Blue Ocean. Blue Ocean is a good book. And if you understand Blue Ocean, I always tell people, are you going to sell a blender by saying, you pick this, one of two things? You sell the blender going, this thing's going to slice and dice. This thing is going to clean up fast. It's got 4 different modes, and it liquefies the stuff. Or try this one. What our blender does is it breaks down those vitamins so they're more consumable. The average blender will allow you to intake 10% of the vitamin. Ours equals 90%, which is going to mean better sleep, better skin, more energy, better life. Blue Ocean is selling the benefits, not the features. And if you learn how to sell, the benefit is you're not going to have to call us back. When you hit that garage door button, it's going to work. It's going to keep the bugs out better. It's going to look sexier. You're going to be the envy of the neighborhood. Those are selling points, not that I used all the materials, because that's a piece of it, of why do those nutrients break down? Well, they blend faster, and here's how it works. You got to deliver the other part of it to give it Blue Ocean, but people forget the benefits of why the customer would make that buying decision.
Yeah. Great stuff. Hey, Tommy, before I get to the last segment, if people want to learn more about you or connect with you or podcast, or, what's the best place to learn more about you?
You can listen to homeserviceexpert.com. There's the podcast there. It's all over. It's syndicated everywhere. Homeservicemillionaire.com/free. You pay for the shipping and handling. It's like $9. You'll get a hard copy. It's a book I had 12 contributors with. I had the CEO of ServiceTitan, the COO of Home Advisor. I had the CEO of Valpak. Literally the contribution of this book was amazing. And you can hit me up on my email. I have a million emails, but they all kind of filter into A1 lead, LEAD, manager, A1 lead manager at Gmail. I think that's probably like 15, right when I started the business, and I just kept it because Google was Google. So
yeah, good old Google. Cool. Well, Tommy, that's awesome. Hey, last segment of the show is called our Fast Five, and I'm going to hit you with 5 rapid fire questions and just say whatever comes to mind. First question is favorite business book and why?
Man, that is crazy.
I know you're a big reader, so it's tough to pick one. I'm a big reader as well.
Let me just so many here. Well, How to Win Friends and Influence People is a book that came out almost a century ago, and it's still valid to this day. And once you learn how to build relationships, you'll conquer any business. I don't care if it's home service or what it is. It's the relationships. It's how you sell yourself. It's how to listen. It's how you have 2 ears. And it's really how to make people feel good about themselves. And when you dominate building relationships, you can win at everything.
Awesome. Yeah. I remember that was one of the first ones I read getting out of college, and yeah, it seems like the principles in there are pretty timeless. All right. Next question is, who's the most inspirational person in your life?
What's another one? I could go a lot of ways, but I'd say Al Levy was a consultant I worked with for a long time. He wrote the 7 Power Contractor, and he's someone I could trust. I could definitely bounce stuff off of him. And, my dad and my mom are very, very, and my stepdad, I got to say that there's a lot of people that influence my life. My family's huge, but ultimately, and I can pick a lot of people in the business, but exterior to business, I would say Al Levy is just, he's golden.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Superpower, I'd say probably, I always was obsessed, and I've got it right here. And I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, but
no, it's all good.
DeLorean.
Oh, nice.
I'd say it'd be pretty cool to be able to meet Jesus, and then maybe meet a lot of the other, probably time travel.
Yeah.
And I'd like to be able to fly, so this kind of describes both of them.
Killing two birds with one stone. I like it.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. Describe yourself in 3 words.
3 words. Funny student for life, and that's 3 words right there. But and then easy going. I don't know. Wasn't prepared for that, but
well, I know I didn't send these in advance. So, all right. Last question is, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, could I do 2?
Yeah, I'll give you 2.
Real quick. So if you start doing your time management right, and you start reflecting, and you really start to pay attention to the things that matter, what you'll understand is if you become a bottleneck fixer, your business will run without you. And most of the hardest things that an owner needs to learn, an entrepreneur, is getting out of the way. Don't be involved in everything, but have KPIs and checks and balances and inspect what you expect. That's the first one, is being able to reflect and fix bottlenecks. Number 2 is you really got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to become part of masterminds. You've got to get other people's opinion. You got to build a network of trust in other industries. And what I think you really should do is find the top 5 businesses in your industry. Find out who the owners and the management are. Send them letters. Show them you truly appreciate what they're doing to the industry. And then find your favorite one and fly out and spend 2 days. See if you could shadow them. You'd be surprised. If you do it right, they're going to be delighted to help out someone that's not quite as successful as them. That's what it's all about, is giving back. And if they're not, it's not the right person you probably want. So just get out of your comfort zone, get out of your city, get out of your element, turn your phone off, and just write down, have questions and write it down and giggle a little bit, be like, oh, I never thought of that. And it's so much fun to do it when you're doing it. So those 2 things I think are really, really big. And I think sometimes we're too busy to open our eyes at the opportunities out there. We become so infected and injected in the business that it can't run without us. And that's the worst place you want to be. So don't be like that guy.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. That's a good way to wrap it up. And Tommy, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, I really appreciate being on, Spencer.